When we want to upgrade the project from basic to fancy, we are looking for ways to add little details that are almost invisible on their own, but turn a project into a refined creation. One of those ways is to change the type of cast-on. The Bulgarian cast-on that I'm going to show you in this tutorial is not just nice looking, it is also rather stretchy. Plus, it is quite easy to make. Let's see how it works. This cast-on is a variation of the long tail cast-on, and that means we'll need to leave a pretty long tail before we start to cast on stitches. So measure a tail that is at least 3 times longer than the length of the future cast-on edge. So let's say you want to make a cast-on edge this long. That means you're going to measure 3 times this length. So it's going to be 1, 2, and 3. And frankly, I would leave a tail even longer to make sure that I don't run out of yarn later on. Now double that length and make a double-stranded tail that is at least 3 times longer than the future cast-on edge. Then place the working yarn and that little tail, place it all on your left index finger and hold that little tail just to keep it in place for now. And then wrap the tail around your left thumb clockwise. If you look at it this way, then it's going to be clockwise, like this. Then hold the working yarn, the double-stranded tail, and that little tail. Hold it all together with the rest of your left fingers. That's the setup. Now take the needle in your right hand and insert the tip of the needle from left to right into that loop. So if we look at it this way, it's going to be left to right. Then pick the yarn that comes from your index finger, pull the wrap through the loop, let go of the loop, and pull the strands to tighten the stitch. This is our first stitch. Now we are ready to cast on more stitches. Before we do that, make sure you take care of this little guy. Align it with the needle and hold the tail and the needle together in your right hand, like this. The next step will be the same for casting on all even numbered stitches. So we're going to cast on stitch number 2 right now, and this step is going to be the same for stitch number 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. So place the working yarn on your left index finger and the double-stranded tail on your left thumb, and hold the yarn and the tail with the rest of your left fingers, and then make a stitch exactly in the same way as we do when we use the long tail cast on. So insert the tip of the right needle from left to right into the loop that is on your thumb, then pick the yarn that comes from your index finger, pull it through that loop, and tighten the stitch like this. The next step would be a bit different. We start with the same setup. We place the working yarn on the left index finger and the double-stranded tail on the left thumb, but we're not going to make a stitch like that. Before we do that, we take the thumb out of that loop and insert it back, but this time we go from the right side like this. See, that's the setup for the next stitch. And then insert the tip of the right needle from right to left into that loop, picking that strand that is at the back of your thumb. Then pick the working yarn that comes from the index finger, pull it through that loop, and tighten the stitch. And this step would be the same for all odd numbered stitches. See, we made stitch number 3, and that's going to be the same for stitch number 5, 7, 9, 11, and so on. And then we just repeat these 2 steps. So the first step, the even numbered stitches, we're going to use the usual setup, the usual long tail cast on, but the only difference is we have double-stranded tail over here. So we're going to make 1 stitch like this. And then we use the unusual setup. We're going to remove the finger, the thumb from the loop, and then insert it back again, but this time we go from the other side, from right to left, and make a stitch like this. And then we do it again, the usual setup and the unusual setup. And repeat these steps to cast on as many stitches as you need for the project. This cast on looks best on the right side. It's not as lovely on the wrong side, though it's not bad either. So if you want to keep this look on the right side, as you start working on the project, as you turn your work and start working on the project, start with the wrong side row. And then as you work a few rows, you will see that the cast on looks like a lovely chain of knots. And when you try to stretch it, you will see that it is rather stretchy as well. And here it is, the Bulgarian cast on. Because it creates an elastic edge, it is perfect for sweaters, top-down socks, mitts, hats, shawls, and pretty much any other project that requires that stretch. To read this tutorial as a set of step-by-step photo instructions, follow the link in the description. To download it as a PDF, join the club or our community on Patreon. Thank you for watching this video and have a wonderful week. I'll see you in the next tutorial.